Yo, what's up? It's your boy Kinda Plug back on the video. I hope y'all like this video and let's get into it. Let's go.
These players got the first wave of social media superstardom. They were ballers who went viral in the mixtape era, where a single 2-minute highlight reel could get you millions of followers. But what happened to all of those high school superstars, and where are they now?
Tony Farmer, 6'7", sophomore from Cleveland, Ohio.
Born in Cleveland, Tony Farmer was supposed to be the next LeBron James, but he became a meme, and not in a good way.
Farmer was in court for beating his girlfriend.
Standing at 6'7" and 245 pounds of nothing but muscle, Farmer was a versatile small forward who could do everything on the court. Farmer was a top college recruit, and then he Ray Riced his career. In 2012, 2 years before Ray punched his fiancée in the elevator, an 18-year-old Farmer did the same thing to his ex-girlfriend. Tony assaulted and beat up his ex, threatened to take her life, and forced her to stay with him. After a doorbell camera in her apartment recorded the attack, Farmer was indicted with charges of kidnapping, assault, and robbery. Tony pleaded guilty to all 3 charges.
He really needs help. I don't think Jelly given that.
And was sentenced to 3 years in prison. As the judge was saying the length of the sentence, Farmer fainted and collapsed. He became the meme. And it's a shame that this was the highlight of his that went viral, and not some mean poster dunk. However, after he served his sentence, Tony enrolled at a community college in Texas, averaging 17 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 assists across 2 seasons. In 2017, he declared for the NBA draft, but went undrafted, and was forced to take his talents overseas. Farmer played in Qatar, South America, and Mexico, where in 2022, he even became an all-star. Tony's now a reconciled family man, and is a proud father of 2 boys. Maybe he's not a superstar like LeBron, but he's in a much better place than he was in 2012. While Tony and many other high school stars got famous for dunking, there were a group of players in New York who made layups cooler than ever. Their names were Isaiah Washington, Jaquay James, Javon Quinterly, and Sid Wilson. And they started the Jelly Fam movement. Jelly was their name for the extra creativity when scoring a layup, whether it's an insane spin, finger roll, double clutch, or switching hands.
And we always would say Jelly, like anytime somebody laid a ball up like Jelly. And I'm like, yo, we need our own group.
Because the founding fathers of Jelly Fam were 5- and 4-star recruits, the Jelly layups started to get popular on social media. Soon enough, every kid in New York was screaming Jelly with their layups. Nobody was trying to dunk anymore, and everybody started changing their social media handles to Jelly Fam. Washington, James, Quinterly, and Wilson all wanted to make the NBA and turn the Jelly Fam movement into a company with their own shoes and merchandise.
Stuff like that just makes you want to be creative. Now I want to have our own sneaker, like a Jelly Fam shoe.
But the Jelly Fam had a big problem. They had the style, but they lacked substance. All 4 had underwhelming college careers, and their NBA dreams collapsed. Isaiah Washington went undrafted in the 2021 NBA draft, and Jaquay James suffered the same fate a year later. Isaiah did manage to go pro, but he just didn't go to the NBA. He's currently playing in Slovakia, while Sidney Wilson earns his basketball bread in Argentina. Javon Quinterly is still in college, playing for Alabama, where he averaged 14 points and 4 assists in 2022. His NBA dreams are still alive.
At least 3 of us in the NBA. Hopefully, I'm praying. Once we're in the NBA, it'll officially be a brand.
But it's more likely that he'll be doing jelly layups overseas than in America. But no American player went more globally viral than Julian Newman, who was the Justin Bieber of basketball. At the age of 11, Newman had already gone viral for becoming the youngest and shortest player to ever play varsity basketball.
He can just navigate through. It doesn't matter how big, how tall you are. He's just so much quicker and faster.
See, Julian's obsession with basketball started at the age of 3, and his father trained him like he was an NBA pro.
My biggest thrill about watching him play is just seeing how well he performed. He has tremendous ball handling and court sense.
Julian was dribbling and shooting until his little arms started to hurt, and he wouldn't leave practice until he made 100 free throws, 200 floaters, and 200 jump shots every day. As a 5th grader, he played middle school basketball, but after he scored 91 points in a game, his dad decided that Julian needed a greater challenge. Because he was attending a private school, Newman was able to join the varsity team, thus becoming the youngest varsity player in American history. Julian was an 11-year-old point guard standing at 4'5" and weighing 70 pounds, and was at least 3 years younger and a foot shorter than everyone else on the court. But in the words of Conor McGregor, Julian wasn't just there to take part, he was there to take over. Due to his supreme handles that he perfected since he could walk, Julian was a wizard with the basketball. He could shoot and was extremely quick. The little man averaged 12 points, 11 assists, and 4 steals per game, leading his school to a 21-6 record. Even though the smallest available uniform was too big for him, Julian was so good that he led the state of Florida in assists and was the second best varsity passer in the entire country. And of course, a 4'5" phenom couldn't go unnoticed in the age of the internet, so he became a national sensation. Newman made TV appearances on The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Good Morning America, Conan O'Brien's Late Night, and many other programs.
Please welcome from Orlando, Julian Handles Newman.
I like that, man.
It felt like he was doing more media than LeBron James. In the 7th grade, Newman became the youngest player to record 1,000 career varsity points, averaging 20 points, 10 assists, and 3 steals per game. As an 8th grader in 2016, Newman made headlines in a highly publicized matchup with top 2020 class recruit Kyrie Walker. Julian ended up with 52 points.
52.
And the game highlights got over 13 million views on YouTube. In 2019, as a high school junior, Newman's numbers got even crazier. Julian averaged 35 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals per game. But if he was that talented and so dominant, why is Julian Newman not in the NBA by now? Well, the first and the most obvious reason is that Julian grew only to 5'6" in shoes, and is also not very muscular. Think Isaiah Thomas, but subtract 3 inches and 40 pounds. Yeah, that's closer to Kevin Hart than it is to an NBA player. The second reason is that Julian is all flash, with bad overall game. Even though his work ethic is commendable and his ball handling skills are definitely not fake, Newman's game is much more suitable for street ball tournaments and skills challenges than for actual NBA games. And if you're wondering how he could maintain a 25.9 assist average on a varsity team, it's because he played for a private school against mediocre competition, and his father was the head coach. As soon as he would square up against better opponents, Julian would struggle due to his size, leaky defense, and poor understanding of team basketball. Through his teenage years, he continued to be coached by his father, and they kept doing the same ball handling drills that they were doing when Julian was 11, instead of further developing his game. For Julian's senior year, his father started his own team called Prodigy Prep. They also created the sports apparel brand Prodigy and were featured in the reality show Hello Newmans. So, an ambitious father that started his own brand of clothing and his own league to live vicariously through his children? Sound familiar? But unlike LeVar Ball and his sons, the Newmans are a foot shorter and far less talented. On top of that, Julian acted like a spoiled brat on the court and often got into fights, and it wasn't a surprise that he didn't receive any college offers, not even from Division II schools. And yet, his father still found a way to make headlines. Newman Sr. said that Julian had put his name in the 2022 NBA draft, but of course, that was just for the clout. Julian immediately pulled out of the draft, because it was the same as if you or I put our names in the draft. Completely useless. And since he's 21 years old, we doubt that his basketball career will go anywhere near the NBA. But don't feel bad for Julian and think that all those hours dribbling the ball were a waste of time. His family has earned a substantial amount for their TV appearances and endorsements. Julian has nearly 700,000 followers on Instagram and is making money by promoting fashion brands. Another viral star who will never get a fashion deal is Robert Bobrovsky, simply because there is not another human on the planet who is built like him. Robert played with LaMelo Ball in high school. When you've seen Rob, you forgot all about LaMelo. As a 17-year-old high school junior, Robert was standing at 7'7", but weighed no more than 180 pounds. At the age of 8, Robert was already 6'2", and he reached 7 feet at 11. He was one of the tallest and one of the skinniest basketball players you could ever imagine. And because of his highly unusual build, Bobrovsky went viral. During his 5 minutes of fame, Rob said that his goal was to make the NBA and become a taller version of his favorite player, Kristaps Porzingis.
I only met Porzingis a while ago. Yeah, we're both 7'1" back then, so it was pretty cool meeting someone the same height.
However, height isn't always a basketball blessing.
Either it's a blessing or a curse.
Your height could be a blessing or a curse.
Right, it's up to you.
Due to his insane length, Rob suffers from scoliosis, a disorder marked by a lateral curvature of the spine, which causes back pain at any height, let alone 7'7". Because of this, Robert couldn't do any squats or deadlifts, and even though he ate 7 meals a day, he hardly gained any weight. With such a severe lack of endurance, muscle mass, and mobility, his NBA debut ended up as nothing but a childhood dream. In 2022, Rob still played basketball for Rochester University, but without any significant impact on the court. But high school superstars aren't always super tall. Just look at Akil Carr, who was a 5'6" point guard with blazing speed, impeccable handles, and flashy acrobatic finishes. Carr had one of the first and one of the best hoop mixtapes of all time. When you've seen it, you couldn't believe why this kid wasn't already in the NBA. As a high school sophomore, Carr averaged 31 points, 6 assists, and nearly 5 steals per game. As a junior, he played for the U.S. in the international tournament in Italy and led the Americans to gold with a 40 points per game average. L'Automatica Roma, a squad from the First Italian League, offered him a $750,000 contract on the spot, which was the largest contract ever offered by a European club to a high school player before graduation. However, Carr turned that down to finish his high school career and eventually play in the NBA. But that turned out to be the biggest mistake of his life. In 2013, Carr eventually played in the G League, averaging 10 points per game. Unfortunately, he went undrafted in the 2014 NBA draft, and the NBA doors were closed forever. Akil eventually made it to Europe, playing pro ball in Cyprus before returning to the US, where he still plays pro basketball in the minor leagues. 2 years after the Hoop Mixtapes channel launched Akil Carr into superstardom, another mixtape came out, and it was even more spectacular. His name is Seventh Woods, and Seventh was supposed to be the next Russell Westbrook. Woods went viral after Hoop Mixtape launched a 2-minute and 36-second video titled Seventh Woods is the best 14-year-old in the country. With the hops of Vince Carter and the speed of a hungry cheetah, Woods was genuinely amazing, and was the youngest player ever to win the under-16 gold medal for Team USA. Just like Julian Newman, Seventh became a viral superstar, which brought him to the Ellen DeGeneres Show, Jimmy Kimmel, and others. He signed endorsement deals and gained a massive following, but this created a lot of pressure for Seventh, which hindered his basketball progress. And then, a couple of injuries slowed him down, and since he only grew up to be 6'2", his advantage over other kids disappeared. Woods did play NCAA basketball, but he only averaged 2.4 points per game, and went undrafted in the 2022 NBA draft. It's safe to say that his dreams of pro basketball are close to dead. At times in basketball, you just have to be at the right spot to become super famous, like Brian Scalabrine was with the Celtics, or Steve Kerr with the Bulls in the 90s. If Kerr didn't play with Jordan, he'd be just some white shooter who would never get recognized on the street. The same goes for Bryson Bishop, who wouldn't get viral in 5th grade if he wasn't brave and delusional about guarding Zion Williamson. Bryson was a skinny 8th grader standing at 5'6", doing everything humanly possible to stop a 6'6", 250-pound Zion. Zion was averaging 36 points per game, and his team was up by 30 late in the third. A foot shorter and over 100 pounds lighter than Williamson, Bryson entered the game and immediately ran to Zion and tried to deny him the ball. Bishop was completely unbothered, clapping his hands and even talking a little trash. Zion gave him a surprised look like, "What's up with this crazy kid?"
I got a lot of respect for him for doing that. Because, his teammates were so out of it that he was just trying to give them energy.
It was a classic David versus Goliath story, and when the video of this little kid fighting Mount Zion went viral, Bishop melted the hearts of millions. He got famous for being that kid who guarded Zion, but that's not all he did. Since that matchup with Williamson in 2017, Bishop grew to 6 feet and became a decent player himself. As a high school junior, Bryson led his high school to a state championship and was named High School Player of the Year in Alabama. As a senior, Bishop won the title again, after which he got accepted to Birmingham Southern College. And 5 years after they met for the first time, Zion Williamson and his viral co-star met again. Prior to New Orleans' preseason game versus the Atlanta Hawks in Birmingham, Zion and Bryson posed for a photo that recreated the famous moment from their 2017 matchup. They are both from Spartanburg in South Carolina, and Bishop said that Zion made him feel like they've been friends for all these years. Good man. But if you think Zion can dunk hard, wait until you see this guy's dunks. Most Caucasians suffer from WMCJ syndrome, which stands for White Men Can't Jump, but there are some exceptions, and Mac McClung is one of them. However, when you first lay your eyes on Mac, you won't see anything special. Physically, he looks average as hell, as long as he's standing on the ground. But once he gets airborne, you quickly realize that this kid is far from normal. McClung has hops like an Energizer bunny, and he soars above the rim like he's LeBron James. In the 2023 dunk contest, Mac showed the full display of his aerial talents, dunking the ball harder and flying higher than anyone else. McClung completely stole the show and gave a performance that was reminiscent of Vince Carter. Not only did he dominantly win the contest, Mac also gave us the throwback "It's Over" sign. which Vince used in 2000 when he won the dunk contest. Mac first dunked the ball in the 9th grade, and when he got to high school, his reputation as a must-see slam master started growing. But the 6'2" point guard wasn't just a high-flying one-trick pony. McClung could really play, and as a junior, he dropped a career-high 64 points, which was the highest mark in the state of Virginia since 1984. In his senior year, he broke Allen Iverson's state high school record of 948 points in a season by a country mile. McClung finished the season with 1,153 points. It's always good when you break a Hall of Famer's record, but it's even better if you look good while you're doing it. McClung took full advantage of the internet and the basketball mixtape era, and his wild aerial feats soon began flooding social media, and Mac became a national sensation. Due to his size, Mac was just a 3-star recruit, but his viral dunks brought him more attention than he ever dreamed of, and colleges began sending scholarship offers. Mac chose Patrick Ewing and enrolled at Georgetown, where he averaged a solid 14 points per game in 2 seasons. McClung then transferred to Texas Tech, where he averaged 15 points, after which he put his name in the 2021 NBA draft. But even though he was pretty fly for a white guy, McClung was still a short white guy with an inconsistent jumper and a shooting guard in a point guard's body. NBA teams generally don't pick 6'2" shooting guards that can't really shoot, and Max struck out, going undrafted. Still, McClung never gave up. He managed to score a contract with the Lakers after a successful showing in the Summer League, but the Lakers unfortunately waived him early in the season. He'd play the rest of the year in the G League, winning the G League Rookie of the Year award, and then he tried to make the NBA again. This time, he played in Summer League for the Warriors, securing another 1-year contract. But history repeated itself, and Mac got waived again, and he's currently still in the G League. Hey, maybe third time's a charm, and we'll see Mac in NBA games in the future. And in the mixtape era, there were several other players who got national coverage, but finished with a similar career arc as McClung. Kyrie Walker got famous in the 8th grade for his dunking ability, and once he sprouted to 6'6", he was labeled as a 5-star recruit. As a high school freshman, Kyrie averaged 21 points per game, but his game kind of stalled, and it's safe to say the internet fame got to his head. He waived his college eligibility and entered the 2021 NBA draft, but like McClung, Walker went undrafted. He then played in the G League in the 2022 season, but after he averaged only 4 points per game, it seemed like his NBA story will never be written. A very similar fate happened to other mixtape stars like Jim Agatwich and Quay Parker, who were both viral sensations due to their dunking ability. But neither one of them made it, and their peak happened in high school. There were a few other names who got on NBA scouts' radar due to high school mixtapes, and one of the most famous ones is the Maker family. Brothers Stan and Mature and their cousin Makur Maker were all supposed to be the next Kevin Garnett or Anthony Davis, but despite all of them being 7-footers and looking like KG on their mixtapes, their careers never panned out in the NBA. Stan's high school fame, height, and athleticism made him the number 10 draft pick in 2016, but he never lived up to the hype. Stan ended up playing 4 NBA seasons based on potential alone, but after he averaged 4 points per game, it's fair to say he maybe got more chances than he deserved. Don Maker currently plays in China, while Matur and Makur both went undrafted in the NBA draft, and those two Makers are making their basketball living in the Australian League. The basketball mixtape era was extremely fun, but is now largely over, and some random kid will hardly become a sensation after a single 2-minute highlight video. Just like many